All right. Hi, I'm Julian Jackson with J Prime Realty Group. And today I want to share with you exactly why we should be your new build and listing specialist. First off, we truly believe that everyone deserves to achieve the dream of home ownership. And when it comes down to being a buyer representative for any of the potential home buyers that we're looking to work with, we always want to make sure it's clear to everyone that we don't tell you no, we tell you how. And what does that mean? That means that it doesn't really matter what the situation is, whether it's 6 weeks from now or 12 months from now, we're trying to find a way to make sure that you can become a homeowner because there's so many options and programs out there that most people aren't aware of. And only my team and I can introduce you to that. We want to make sure that you get every single opportunity possible and you get to pick the best option for you. So we don't tell you no, we tell you how, because it doesn't matter whether it's a situation with a divorce decree, whether it's student loans, down payment, or credit issues, we have a solution. And that's the biggest difference with us when you're working with J Prime Realty Group. Now, what I want you to understand is we are legally obligated to help. And I think that's one of the big failures on most realtors' part. They don't share with you that this is a legal obligation. We have to do this with your interest in mind. Whether it boils down to all the purchasing options, negotiating on your behalf, all the resources that we have at our disposal to be able to make the situation smoother for you. Of course, experience matters. So with that, I'll kind of share with you exactly my background so you can understand how my team and I can make a much bigger difference for you than pretty much any other realtor or real estate team out there when it comes to how we help you with the buyer side of this transaction. Now, we also help with listings, and we have quite a robust package for that as well. But we really separate ourselves when it comes down to the buyer side because my background started in 2006 as a mortgage professional. I ran my own brokerage with as many as 60 loan officers at one point. And I learned quite a bit on what type of programs are available out there. And we're going to get into that quite a bit throughout this presentation. But I want you to understand that with that background and then eventually switching over to the real estate side, I've been doing that over 10 years now, where I see everything from the perspective of a consumer who's looking to purchase and all the different options that are available. A lot of time realtors will tell you that's not their job. That's not their job to know about the financing part. And then they hand you off to a lender who you don't really want to share all your information with because you're thinking, who is this person? How do I know they're going to do good by me? Well, you really don't. And the realtor didn't do a very good job of letting you know anything about that person or how they're going to help you. Well, we're not going to allow that to happen because we don't work with just one lender. We work with any lender out there that's willing to give you the best options available so that you can get the zero down, all closing costs paid. Doesn't matter if the lender works with that builder, or if the lender works on their own, we're going to find the person that helps you get what you deserve for the least amount out of your pocket, the least amount of monthly payment, and with you still being able to pick your perfect 10 home. And that's what separates us. And it's a legal obligation. It's not pick this person because they seem better, they can talk better. We legally should be able to help you more than other people with our specialty. And with that being said, you can rest assured that when you work with us, you're making the best choice because we're going to talk about the best ways and the most options to make ownership a reality for you. Everything from our rebate and the compensation that we receive, from how we help you as a realtor keep things from going wrong, how the your journey is our mission, and why you should consider buying versus renting. We're also a team. We want to make sure that you understand that and the financing options that are available, home loan programs that are available, the difference between closing costs and down payment, the loan estimates, when you see those, what that looks like as opposed to what numbers you may think you're going to pay. This is a breakdown. We're going to go through all of that. Credit do's and don'ts, or more so credit don'ts here. We'll typically stay away from the do's because they start becoming confusing. The difference between pre-owned and new build, and then we'll kind of touch on the offer, inspection, appraisal, and the closing itself, and why we are your agent for life. So as we move forward, you'll kind of see. First off, we offer a minimum rebate. So each agent that's part of the J Prime Realty Group offers a rebate or gifts at closing, depending upon the negotiation outcomes and those costs. So we're new build specialists. And a lot of times that means you're going to get a much better deal from the new build than you will from someone who's selling independently. And when it comes to our fees, the builders typically pay those without question. You don't have to wonder where they're coming from. Sometimes they'll pay as much as 6%, 7%, 8%. And if they do that, then we have an opportunity to give back more to you, especially if you need it to help you with closing. And with that being said, we want obviously you to choose us, but not just because we are able to find more money to give back to you, but because we can give you more options on making sure that you're taken care of. Anytime you work with us, once that home closes, we're able to do the best negotiation possible. If there's anything that we can do to contribute to help with the closing costs and lowering those payments through our commission, we'll do that up to a point, of course. And then the other piece is it has to actually be part of closing. We can't help with the down payment, but we can't help with closing costs. Or if we're able to negotiate everything on your behalf and get everything knocked out so that there is no cost up front, then we can actually turn that into a gift. Can't be cash or cash equivalent, but we can give you a gift in the form of maybe a Rooms to Go gift card or Home Depot, Lowe's, whichever one you choose. As long as you're happy with the amount we're giving you, not being in cash, then you're usually going to be just fine. So how is our compensation taken care of? Well, our fees are typically paid through the proceeds at closing, so that avoids you having to come up with more out-of-pocket expenses. And if you're dissatisfied with our service, I know a lot of people don't want to put that out there, but I don't think you're going to be dissatisfied with our service. So I make it clear from the very beginning. If you're dissatisfied with our service, you can notify any of my agents and let them know that you're going to be going in a different direction with no obligation to stay with us. But we truly believe, especially after this presentation and after you see what we go through in this discussion here, that there isn't anyone better to work with when it comes to the buy side. And again, on the home selling side, I doubt that there's going to be any competition there either. But we like to appeal to buyers simply because with the loan background that I have and what I've shared with my agents, there's so much more we can do for you to get you into a home. And a lot of people who are selling homes may not want to purchase one or even sell the one they're in because they can't purchase one at a good enough fee, so that they're not thinking about all the costs that are going to come out of pocket that they may or may not be able to cover with the equity in their home. So we run through all of those different things if that's the scenario we need to go through. But the bottom line is, if you're dissatisfied, there's no obligation to stay with us. You can always walk away. You just have to give us a heads up. Now, in order for us to legally show homes, an agreement must be discussed and signed. So we want to outline our compensation and our responsibilities. Every agent's supposed to do that. So if they're not doing that, there's probably something they're doing wrong. Now, signing allows the agent, our agents, to advocate for you and show any home in the San Antonio area, allowing us to negotiate discounts, repairs, eligible rebates on your behalf. Our fees can range anywhere from 3 to 6% or more. You'll typically hear something like that, but the bottom line is, if we can get more from the seller or the builder to help you out, then it's only going to help you. We're trying to work for your best interest. And as long as we agree to those terms, it's all good. And that's typically what happens when we work with builders. We're going to have more to work with. So we may encourage you to go with the builder and look at some of the other homes and weigh the pros and cons before you make your final decision. But we always want to make sure you get in front of at least one new build home to make that decision. Then, of course, you got to think about it from the standpoint that the agent can handle your personal information. You only need one to do that. And that allows you to avoid the need to share it with multiple realtors and lenders, because we connect you with all those people. And typically we vetted them. Most people don't vet the lenders they work with, but I do. I make sure even any one of my team members recommends a lender, I want to find out from them what they can offer. And if that particular lender can't help you as much as another lender, I'm going to make sure you get to pick the one that you think can help you the most with our guidance. That's the only way this works. No one should be telling you this is the only lender you can work with because it's the only lender I've worked with. It doesn't make sense, because not all lenders can offer the same thing. Some specialize in VA, some specialize in USDA, some specialize in FHA, and whichever one makes the most sense for your situation and scenario, that's the one that's better for you. So we want to go with that person. Now, the agreement that we work with, obviously, you'll receive that after the presentation or from one of the agents. They may bring it with them on the first meeting, but that agreement and this presentation will be sent to you, or should have already been sent to you, electronically. Now, obviously, when you go through that and you watch this video, feel free to ask any questions you want. The agent should be able to answer your questions pretty simply. Now, again, if you have a home to sell, we do have a 100-point marketing plan, a lot more robust marketing that you're going to see pretty much everywhere else. With our program and our broker, we literally have over 100-point marketing plan, digital and print media. And so we have like 188 pieces we can take to farm around an entire neighborhood to make sure the word is getting out about your house. Because the goal is to get as many eyes on your property as possible, whether it's physical or digital. We want everyone to see that home. And we know there's a huge reach out there in Facebook and all the social media with like 2 billion people that have access to these social media outlets. If we don't market that way, then of course that's the difference. But if you have a home to sell, we go through all that with you at that time. Today, we're going to focus on the buy side. Now, how do realtors help you? Well, when you sign with us, we educate you about the home buyer process. Again, we know the proceeds that come from the closing, but once you close on a deal, that loan that you have pays everyone involved. That's why everyone has to understand that the buyer is the most critical. We have to treat you like the most critical. And of course, the bank that's lending you money, they own that house with you. So that they own part of the note, you own the other part, and you also have the deed. Now, the thing is, they're going to keep asking you a lot of different questions because they own the house. They lent you the money. They partly own that house until you pay everything off. Just like a car, they can repossess it, or in the mortgage or / real estate industry, it's foreclosure. So you just got to think about it. If you're in default for too long, they're taking a risk on you, and therefore they want to make sure that they have all the paperwork they need to do that. Now, when it comes down to the locating piece, we also always talk about locating, negotiating, and facilitating this process, because that's what it really is. The locating piece is really all about what you can do as far as finding the right property with our guidance, because the goal for us really is to make sure we show you enough properties out there so that you've seen enough that when you finally choose the one that you make your decision about, you've seen everything out there and you feel really good about that, because you know based on the time frame, location, and budget that you found the very best home you could given those parameters. Because we can obviously shop and show people homes anywhere, but that's not what you're trying to find. There's certain locations, certain places you want to be as opposed to others, and that's what we're looking at. Now, when it comes to negotiating on your behalf, our focus is to protect your interests above our own, especially when it comes to the earnest money, because we want to make sure that you don't have to lose money over nothing. There's certain times where you could lose your earnest money, but we're going to keep you in the know about that. The bottom line is, if you look for a home for just some random reason to walk away and it doesn't make sense to the seller or the builder, then they're going to keep that earnest money because you took their home off the market when they could have been marketing to someone else. But if you have a good reason, like the appraisal doesn't come in high enough, you don't get qualified for financing, something changes in your situation, well, absolutely, they're going to give you that earnest money back. And then when it comes down to it, part of the negotiation process, this is where we really shine. In addition to protecting your best interest, we also have to help you with making the offers, analyzing counter offers, as well as fair negotiating about your closing cost repairs and all the other things that come in this package of real estate. So we always have to make sure that we look out for you and your best interest by doing those things on your behalf. Again, it's a legal requirement. Then facilitating a smooth transaction from contract to closing, we have a highly competent team that tackles all the tasks of making sure that all your initials, we dot the I's, cross the T's, so that therefore when you actually finish signing your paperwork, you actually own this home. We'll tell you about the title company and all these other entities that are involved. But there's a lot of things that can go wrong in the process, and our job is to make sure that doesn't happen when you're using anyone that was part of J Prime. So when you sign with us, that's what you're signing up for. Now, here's some of the paperwork. There's what they call the information about brokerage services. You have to initial that. It basically tells you exactly what I'm sharing, but it tells you a breakdown of what type of services we can offer you and our requirements to do that, the criteria and what we're supposed to be doing, the services we offer. Now, once you have read through that and initialed it, then it's, hey, how are you compensated and what is your job? What is your role as an agent when you represent me? Well, that's in the buyer rep agreement. And you have to read through that. And I kind of just went through an overview of it, but that's kind of what you're signing up for. Again, you can walk away. Usually we sign it for a certain period of time, maybe 6 months, because it shouldn't take more than 6 months to help you find a home. But in some cases it could, especially if it's going to take a while to build and you know you have time to look. But we analyze all that when we meet. Now, here's some of the things that go wrong in a transaction. There's a lot of it. Now, when we send you this presentation, obviously read through it and ask questions, but anything can go wrong. Anything from the buyer's standpoint, which we're going to make sure we handle that ahead of time, because if you need help with credit or student loans or any of those things, we have solutions. We're going to help you with that. If there's a problem with the seller, the other realtor, the lenders, the property itself, the inspectors, the appraisers, title company, all those entities could have issues that we're going to solve for you. And it may take a week, it may take a month, but we're going to make sure that we give you the game plan to solve it if we can't solve it on the spot. From there, we want to make sure that you understand that we understand that your journey is our mission. We want to make sure you find your perfect 10 home. We're not trying to find, a 9.5. If you're purchasing a home, we want to make sure it's exactly what you're looking for. Again, within your time frame, location, and budget. We can go find $1 million homes. That might be the dream home that you one day move into. But if you're a first-time homeowner, remember, as a first-time homeowner, your 10 now won't be the same as your 10 5 years from now. And just remember, that's what we're looking at. But right now, what's your perfect 10 home? If you're looking for a 2-car garage and the primary suite's downstairs versus upstairs, the washing and dryer's downstairs to the upstairs, and you find that home, be ready to make an offer on it, because that's what it's all about. But of course, we want to know, what has you thinking about moving? What's the absolute latest you'd be willing to move into a place? What's the maximum monthly payment you're willing to make, including taxes and insurance? Now, that has a lot to do with whether you find a home that's worth $400,000, $300,000, $200,000 based on the monthly payment. We really, really focus on monthly payment, not on how much the house is. That's the issue with having just one lender. If their interest rates aren't as good as other interest rates, what you're going to notice is your monthly payment is going to be higher for the same priced home. If the tax rate is higher in one location than another, that exact same floor plan, that exact same home in a higher tax bracket neighborhood is going to cost you more money monthly than the house that costs the exact same price. They can both be $400,000, but if the tax is higher in one neighborhood than another, you're going to pay more monthly. And unless you're paying cash, monthly payment matters. Now, from there, obviously, we want to know what's the most preferred side of town, closer to work or school district. If you have kids, of course, kids usually take the priority, but a lot of times people don't have kids and they're thinking how far do I have to drive to get to work? And that's the biggest thing. Now, sometimes it's both, and then we have to take all that in consideration. But that's why we think from the standpoint, your journey is our mission. We have to know these things before we can move forward to help you. And then from there, why consider buying? So a lot of people think, oh my God, I need to rent because it's cheaper. Not anymore. And if you're having to move to San Antonio because you want to be in a bigger city, well, the bigger city with the small time feel, you found it. That's San Antonio. And because we're Military City, USA, a lot of diversity here, a lot of things happen. It's a very comfortable environment for pretty much everyone. So when you're here, you're going to feel good about picking this location, especially if you're ready to settle down and find that first-time home or your dream home. And the costs are still pretty reasonable here, especially when you think about rentals. This is probably a little out of date because rental prices have gone up. For a home of 3 to 4 people in a family, a 4-person family, you're looking at $1,500. Probably more like $2,000 a month now, maybe a little bit more. So when you add those together, that's 2 and 2 is 4 plus 6 is $4,600 now. We've gone up probably an extra $1,000 now. So you're looking at $4,500 versus a potential new build when you only have to come out of pocket with $500. What could you do with the extra $4,000? Pay off bills, buy more furniture, buy newer furniture, take a little vacation. You could do so many different things with that extra money, especially if you go with new build versus rental. And because we're new build specialists, we can show you how to make that happen faster than anyone else, and the difference in how you're going to save by doing it. Now, the other piece of this is we have to remember we're a team. Again, we don't tell you no, we tell you how. And the reason we're able to do some of the things we can do that other realtors and agents can't do is because we understand this philosophy better than everyone out there. We're like the conductor of the orchestra. We work as a team here, as you see in the middle. It's you and us as the agents, and we have to go out and tackle all these folks. If you've never done this before, or you don't know exactly how to do this, then of course you want our guidance and our expertise. What do we need to talk to the appraiser about? What do we need to talk to the agent about? What about the warranty, the inspection, the insurance? All those things that we have to look out for, the lender, we have to be the ones to share that information with you. We need to know a little bit about all of those. A lot of agents don't. They want to hand you off to these other people without having any control or guidance. They just sit there and let everyone else do the talking and don't do any translation for you. It'd be like going to another country. When I was in Portugal and I didn't understand Portuguese well enough, I could pick up bits and pieces of it, but if someone wasn't there to translate, I was completely lost. And that's exactly how realtors should be able to handle any business with you. If they can't explain all these things that are coming up throughout the process without turning you over to someone else, then they're probably not the right realtor. You want a realtor who can make these explanations make sense to you. And that's what our job is. Now, from there, what are some of these finance options, right? When it comes to down payment, it's totally different from closing costs. So these are the things that can happen for you when it comes to down payment. Do you have a 401k? Do you have a savings account? Do you have a mutual fund? Can you get gifts from family? How about a lender that actually can set up a registry like on Facebook, the way they do their GoFundMe accounts? They have home funded down payment assistance programs. Now, understand if you do down payment assistance, through one of the state or federal programs, they're going to jack up the interest rates to cover the difference that you couldn't afford out of pocket. And so that's going to jack up the interest rates again, which makes the monthly payment higher for the same price home. So you got to think about that. Then there's systems, there's lenders out there that can help with closing costs. Even for veterans, even though you have a zero down loan, there are grants out there for veterans that will allow you to have additional money help you with closing costs. And then what about those programs where you're not ready right away? See, obviously with down payment, we're talking about helping you get into a home right away. With these other programs, maybe you're not. So we can talk to lenders to find out about the options to get you into a home today, because you may be lacking in funds one way or another. But what about other issues you might run into? Well, there's other programs like with NACA. It's a neighborhood assistance program to help you, but it's more of a coaching program that takes a while to get you through. Then there's the rent to own. Well, if you're not in the position to buy right away, maybe rent to own is better. If you have student loans and you're trying to think like, how do I get out of this situation? Well, we've had a client that was in default, and instead of doing the federal route program that they offered that takes 9 months, we just sent them to the company that does this for us, and they literally came back and said, yeah, they're out of default, we can go ahead and move forward with the loan. They were shocked. So were we. So was the builder who we had working with them. The other thing is, we've had clients that had $1,000 worth of student loan debt reduced down to $200 a month. And from that, or maybe it's 400. Well, no, I think it was 200. But we went from $1,000 down to a reasonable amount of money per month that allowed them to actually purchase a home. Again, we'll turn you over to the folks that can do this so that you're not stressing over it. So even if you have student loan issues, that's another thing. What about realtor rebates? Again, the more we receive, the more we can help, especially if it's a situation like lease termination. Some people are like, I have to pay a lease termination fee if I have to get out of my lease early. I'd love to get this house right now, but I can't move. It's like, well, how much does it cost to move out? They share that information. We talk to the builder. The builder's like, well, yeah, that's part of your bonus. Maybe if you can see a way to make that work, we can do that. We've actually had builders figure out a way to take the extra that we have, and we use that as a gift to our client to help them cover the termination fee. But that's the goal. And then there's off-market properties. We want to separate the serious from the curious, and signing that buyer rep agreement is how we do that. So when you sign with us, there's so much more we can offer you, because if you're not signed with us and someone else is signed with us, where are we going to dedicate our time? Because if you walk away from us and we have all these options, you go with someone else for a little while and then go, oh my goodness, they had so much more to offer you guys, but now I'm talking to this other person. Well, we may not be available because we want to make the same commitment to you that you make to us. And we know we have options that most people don't have. They just won't know about them. Because I'm not full-time as a loan officer, I spend a lot more of my time learning all the programs from all the lenders so that I can make sure that we're getting the best bang for the buck and you're being treated the way you're supposed to be treated as a buyer. And that's our goal, again, to make sure we take care of you first. Then there's the home loan programs. Obviously, there's so many lenders out there, but again, you don't choose just one. We find the one that makes the most sense, because there's all these programs out here. Now, if the agents you're working with don't want to get into this at all, that's not good. My agents have this chart. You have this chart. It'll be in your inbox so that all you have to do is look at it. Now, just remember the word here says typical minimum, typical maximum, typical minimum down payment, right? So the minimum score could be this, but sometimes your lenders can work around that. Do we know the ones that can do it? Absolutely. 580 credit score for VA, 580 credit score for FHA. USDA requires a 640 credit score in order for you to take advantage of the best payment option. Otherwise, the payment may be out of your range. And if it's out of your range, it's going to make your debt to income ratio too high, and then you won't qualify for the program. But FHA, 580 credit score. Everyone talks about 20% down. Well, this is usually the easiest to qualify for if you got full documentation, but it's a 3.5% interest rate. Not a correction, 3.5% down payment, not a 20% down payment, which is what a lot of people hear of. 3.5% is a lot different than 20%. So if you've been putting money away trying to get to that 20, think about it. You're already able to afford this. Now, if you need down payment assistance, you need a little bit higher credit score. But again, the interest rate's going to be jacked up, and it's going to cost a little bit more money to cover whatever that down payment would be in the loan as opposed to out of your pocket. And that's what you're paying for. Now, some of the myths that you might hear out there about the credit pulls. If you get a credit pull, they'll say, oh, if you pull your credit too much, it may lower your score. Well, in the mortgage industry, some say 14, some say 30, but I'd say in that window, if you get your credit pulled by multiple mortgage companies in that window, it only counts as one pull. And that's what you want. And just remember, again, compare apples to apples, and that's what we're there for. We'll explain all that to you. Now, here are the closing costs. They talk about down payment, but a lot of times people go, they said zero down. Why do I still need to come to closing with $10,000? Well, because that's called closing cost. The down payment goes toward the house. That's the loan. So if the house is worth $300,000 and you get a loan for $300,000, the down payment is 10% of that. That's $30,000. 3% of that is around a little over $10,000. But if you think about the $10,000 that you're coming up with for the down payment, that's the loan portion. The other fees for the title, for the lender, for all those other entities, the warranty company, or that may come, all this stuff come out of pocket. Typically, the warranty you will still pay out of pocket, but all of that stuff usually gets added into the loan amount, and then you have to pay for that with the loan, which is going to bring that payment higher because you're included in the loan. If not, you have to pay it out of pocket. The other thing is if there's not enough room in the property because the appraised value doesn't cover all the closing costs, and that's if they will allow you to do that. If those costs aren't wrapped into the loan amount, you got to pay the difference out of pocket. So the seller can offer concessions. A lot of times builders are going to offer a whole lot more concessions than a pre-owned. And so that's why you'll see like these big differences between $15,000 versus $500. The earnest money is what they cover, but they're going to cover everything else on the builder side. Whereas a seller who owns their own home, they say, I can't give as much. I can't give up that much because they're subtracting it from the equity in their home, and they don't know if they don't have it, they can't even do that. Now, some that have a lot of equity, we have to just remind them sometimes when you moved into your house, the previous homeowner helped you with their equity. Why would you not want to pass that along to someone else? But these are things that we share with the other agents and other people to make sure that we're helping our clients the best we can, because we have those skills. We have sold enough homes and worked with enough people over my career and all the agents that I have who I share this information with, so that we have tools that other people just don't have. Now, from there, yes, this is a loan estimate I was talking about. It can be confusing, but what I'll do is tell you to send that to my team members, and they'll forward it to me, and I'll do a quick 2-minute, 3-minute breakdown on a video that I send back to you, just explaining what all the costs mean, because you're going to try to compare apples to apples, and we want to make sure that you're able to do that. One of my clients is like, we think we're getting ripped off. I said, we'll go to your bank, have your wife go to her bank. If y'all have the same bank or different banks, just go to multiple banks, have them do an LE, and let's see. And we found the payment for like under $2,400 when we had the numbers run by their bank, and a bank that I found that had better interest rates than what normal banks have. The payment was $2,900 with $8,500 down, or correction, closing costs. Whereas we had found one for under $2,400 and all closing costs were paid. In this case, the builders paid down their interest rate for them. The builders have the money to pay the interest rate down, and the lower the interest rate, the lower the monthly payment for the same price home. And a lot of people aren't going to be able to explain that to you. We want to make sure that you understand that is an option for you, and usually it's the best one. And regardless of what lender you're working with, you have to be open to using another one if they're going to give you better results. Now, as I talked about credit don'ts, I used to talk about the credit do's, but people get confused. The bottom line is, don't buy anything on your credit once you get approved. You can buy all that stuff afterwards. The washer, the dryer, the new car. So what happens with a lot of people, they see that their credit's better than they thought it was when they pull it for their house. So they're like, well, shoot, now my credit's so good, let me go buy all this other stuff. Don't. Just wait, hold off until you get your home purchased and you get your keys, and then consider that. That's the best thing to do at that point. Now, from here, why new builds, right? As new build specialists, we can tell you all these different benefits. You know, they offer zero down, and a lot of times they cover all the closing costs or a portion of them. They have a 1-2-10 warranty. A lot of the people like to believe that the construction is better on older homes. Not true. That's very old school thinking, and it's just not true. Even if they use a compressed wood, they compress it now in a way in which is stronger than wood has ever been. So that's probably not even close to true anymore, where the older wood was better. No, it's not. Also, you got to think about energy efficiency. The homes are they're made better, so they're more energy efficient. And that's what you got to be thinking about the entire time. So anytime someone brings that up, that's what you got to look at. Is it really better quality? No, it's not. The newer builds are better quality than a lot of the older homes. Now, some of those older homes are made great, but they're not up to code either. You could have problems with the plumbing and electrical that have not been made up to code, and therefore there's a chance that they could start a fire faster, or the plumbing could burst faster. Water heater may not work as well. All kinds of crazy stuff. But the new homes have to meet the codes of today, not 20 years ago. And that's one of the great things about new builds. Now, the inventory homes, those are the ones that have already been decided on, so you don't get to pick any features and stuff like that. But because of that, they typically offer less, or correction, they offer them for less money, and they give you more incentives. That's a lot of times how we pick up our incentives, because the quicker you're able to move into one of their inventory homes, the better. Now, the cons to that is you won't be able to choose the amenities, and you have to move within a certain time. Again, that's where sometimes having a bonus from them allows us to come up with the money to help you terminate a lease and let you move in faster, so that because you have to move in faster and you didn't get to take the time that you needed to pay the lease off. We can help with that, especially with these bonuses and other fees. Now, when you think about it from that standpoint, this is a pre-owned process that you go through pretty much anytime you're looking at a pre-owned home, and it's a little different from the new build. But we're walking you through all of this for as simple as 3 to 6%, right? And again, it's not even coming out of your pocket unless you choose to, but it's typically covered in the proceeds at closing once that loan is signed. And you get the paperwork and it's funded. Once everything is funded, everyone gets paid. You help, that money that you use for the loan pays everyone involved in this process. And then you get the keys and you own the actual house. But as you see here with the pre-owned process, there's about 11 steps. Typically, the only big difference with pre-owned versus buying a new build is with pre-owned, you want to get pre-approved first, because you never know how long it's going to take to get pre-approved. And you want to have that set up before you go looking at homes in case you have to make an offer on the spot. Now, the difference with new build is we can take you to look at homes first, because depending on which builder you choose, a lot of them have their own lenders. And we don't want you just running in around, because what if it does take more than 30 days and you have to pull your credit more than once? Well, if it takes more than 30 days and you finally found your dream home after 30 days, you're like, oh, I already pulled my credit. Well, yeah, now it's going to count as 2 hits. So when we show you the new builds, we like to start with the new builds. And if we can't find anything you like, then we'll say, all right, maybe we should look for those pre-owned. The biggest reason usually is because people want acreage, and it's hard to do that with a lot of new builds without paying a lot of money. But if you have the money, of course, why not? Because they can lower the cost through the interest rates. Now, from there, you tour the homes, find the perfect home, submit your earnest money, receive contracts to sign. They usually do that electronically. And then you get your loan estimate within 72 hours from the time you complete the application. So when the lender's asking for all those documents, you got to turn those in. Once they have it, they can run their findings. Once they run the findings and they get an answer back, they have to give you, within 72 hours, a loan estimate. Now, 72 hours prior to closing, you get what they call a closing disclosure, which basically goes back and lets you know how close they were on the loan estimate to what you're going to pay at that point in time. As long as nothing really changed and they didn't find out something that was in your situation from other sources, they do a verification process. And as long as nothing's changed, typically the LE is going to be a little bit more than the CD. The CD be a little bit less, but that's what you want. You don't want to find out it's a whole lot more. That could be pretty close. But again, you have to wait to see those numbers depending on your situation and your verification. Now, 30 days out with the new build process, a little bit different. You have to consider the third-party inspection. If you choose, some people do it before they move in, and some people do it about 8 months after, and they go ahead and just ask them to do a warranty or use their warranty, get the inspection done about 8-month mark, use the warranty at that point before the 12 months is up for your 1, 2, 10 warranty, 1 year, 2 year, 10 year. And there's different things that are covered, but the 1 year does the door-to-door part. Then the appraisal typically gets ordered while you're deciding if you're going to get an inspector. And that'll determine, if the house is worth what they're actually asking for. In most cases, if it's not, the builders will lower that price. A lot of times the sellers of pre-owned will too. Then you have your orientation. They're going to show you how to maintain your home. Then you do a blue tape walkthrough. We go with you on all these appointments, and then tape all the cosmetic and craftsmanship defects so that the construction managers know what to take care of before you actually move in. Then you get your clear to close from the lender, and we do the final walkthrough. Those 2 things have to happen before you go to closing. You have to be approved for the loan, completely approved for it, and we wait for what they call a clear to close for that to happen. And then there's a final walkthrough, which is the approved completion of repairs. You sign off on that as well, usually the same day or the day before. And then closing is the next day or that day. You sign off on all the documents, they transfer the funds, and you get your keys. Congratulations, you're now a new homeowner. These are all the processes in detail. You can go through that when you have time, walk through the offer process, walk through the inspection process, again, continued inspection process, what the appraisal process looks like, and the actual closing. And from there, you own the home. Now, what we like people to understand is we are your agent for life. We don't abandon you. We don't take off just because we got you into a home. We want to be 100% referral based. We want you to be willing to recommend your friends and family to us because you know we take really good care of you and we don't abandon you after the process. So the key to all of this is knowing that we have the resources available, whether it's residential or commercial real estate, we can help. And as you can see here, whether it's housekeeping, lawn maintenance, janitorial services, web design, electricians, baked goods or skincare, even if we don't have those people in our resources, our contacts, we can find them for you and usually get a better idea of how good they are because of our expertise and working with these people on a regular basis. But it doesn't matter who it is. Reach out to us first, and even have your friends and family members reach out to us even before they buy a home, or if they never do. We don't care. We're willing to help and contribute to the community in any way we can. And this is just one way that you know that you have your agent for life and that we're going to take way better care of you than anyone else out there. So when we have you sign with us, you know that you're getting the best out there. And it's not about the money. It's about taking care of you, protecting your best interest, and making sure every option available as a buyer representative that you are being taken care of better than anyone else can take care of you out there. And you can know with confidence that's exactly what J Prime Realty Group will do for you. And with that being said, we look forward to working with you.